Alright, this is the file that you have open in your classroom here. So the assignment is pretty much to unwrap this and get the texture coordinates down. So you have to start picking things and working with them as a whole. Now, a lot of these objects are what they call instances. So if you modify one, so like these are instances, and they're usually instances in bold here. So if you modify one, or these are actually groups. So what we want to do is we want to actually ungroup them, and you can manipulate the individual flags that way. So now an example is this throne. We're just going to zoom up on this throne. Actually, I'm going to Alt Q and it's going to turn on the isolate selection here. So what I'm going to do is simply go into like the UV mapping center here, unwrap UV, and then I'm going to open this. And the first thing I'm going to do is, I don't like using this. I always find it kind of a pain in the butt to see with the checkerboards in the back. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go, I hit 3 and go to polygon here. Then you can actually flatten the mapping and say OK. Actually, you want to do everything, so say OK. So you're going to get a couple pieces like this. And I'm going to just open up a material real quick and change this material to a checker. And I'm just going to do like 10 by 10, something simple. And I'm going to drop it on there. And so now I can see that everything is properly unwrapped. Now, when you look at things, they're properly unwrapped, but what you really want to do is pay attention to, the aspect of how things are attached together. So in this case, what you would do is decide on the best methodology to attach things. So in this case, I would probably go into the edge mode, which is 2, and I'm going to probably select this, and I'm just going to, if I turn this on, I've got a hotkey set for snapping. Actually, no, I don't. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So if you go to Customize UI here, it'll pop up this, and you can go into your unwrap mode here, and you can stitch. Actually, we want to go not in the unwrap, we want to go in the, let's see here, edit. Stitch selected, and then there should be a detach in there, but there's not, so it'll just be under the main menu here. So I'm going to go back to the main menu. As soon as I can find it here, main UI. Oh, that's what I'm looking for. The wrong one. Okay, so you go here, and this is all your commands here. So what I want to do is I want to detach vertex D, and that's the hotkey currently assigned. And then I want to make sure I stitch, which is S is stitch right here. And I'm going to just assign this hotkey to S, which is not assigned. So I'm going to assign that and save it. You can save this wherever you want, but then going to close that. So now I should be able to just hit S, and that'll stitch stuff together like that. So now this creates a seamless interface here. Alright, and that basically means that I can attach things like that. So then what I would do is probably stitch this here, and then to clean this up, I'm just going to stitch these two. And then what you can do is once you get things stitched the way you like, you can actually go in and pack UVs. Now, you pack it according to the way you think things should be. This doesn't make any sense. This is packed together. It doesn't make any sense. So how can you make it look a little bit more interesting, or make things work a little bit better for you? So what you want to do, the goal is to pack all this stuff. And so an example is the back facing here. I'm going to just select whole. So the back facing here, I'm never really going to see it. So honestly, why does it need to be that big? I can actually scale it backwards. And yes, it's creating a larger texture pattern here, but scaling this gives me more room for what I can actually see, which is in this case, I'm just going to grab, actually go here, it's easier to grab this stuff. So I'm going to just grab this stuff. I'm going to actually grab all of this, subtract by holding Alt, move this all out of the thing, grab this. Now, as I know, this is the back side of the box here and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this, and if you hold in your control, it'll snap. And then I'm going to scale, and again, holding in control. So now that has a lot more interest in there. And then what I can do is I'll grab this piece here, and I'll kind of line that up. And again, I'm going to scale this. Now, the sides of the box and the sides of the chair, oops, the sides of this are not as pertinent. So I'm going to rotate them 90 and kind of put them in here like so, and just scale them a little bit bigger. Now, because I'm not looking at the sides, the scale relationship is different. And I should go in here and kind of clean up the different pieces that I have. There's a lot of things that I can do. So to get rid of these spare pieces, you don't really want these spare pieces. Like here I can, let's see here, let's find, so I've got my top here. I can go into the edge mode and stitch this top here. And of course I want to scale it a little bit bigger, so I would actually grab this and I'm just going to move it over here. Oops. I'm going to move this over here like so, and I'm going to stitch, and so that's nice and straight. And then I'm going to grab this and move it over here, and then I'm going to stitch, so that's relatively straight. Now you can always go in the vertex mode, which is here, and grab these and make them not horizontally, but you can align them according to the pivot, so that'll straighten them out if you screw up and don't have them exactly even. And then this here, I would just, actually what I would do is grab this, and I can just literally grab and scale them outward. And if you hold in the, I think it's the shift key, it'll do it. So this now works a lot better. Go in, grab these, move them up a little bit. Same thing here. So those pieces now work a little bit better. I can probably go in and grab the edge here, and let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to stitch this piece together, and I'm going to stitch this piece here, and I'm going to stitch this piece here, and I'm going to stitch this piece there. So I mean, that gives me a whole set, and then I can put this in there. Now if you notice, I can move this over, I can even scale a little bit bigger, or I can move it over here and scale a little bit bigger. And now notice things are packed a lot better. I have a better idea. You don't want them overlapping either, so I'd have to, you want your edges fixed. So I'd have to go in and clean it up a little bit in pieces here and there. But in all reality, this is packed a lot more interesting. I can understand what's going on. I gave more real estate to my individual space here. So that now is perfectly unwrapped. Now instead of unwrapping this one, because it's the same object, I can actually just copy and actually go out of that. Right click, copy, and then go here and I can paste instance. So now I can go in and grab my map here, and it's got the same map as the other one. So that'll actually clean up a lot of your stuff. So basically going in, same thing here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab a UV map here, because you really don't want to, texture anything that's not perfectly squared or boxed. But when you open the editor up here, you'll get a UV map like this, and it doesn't make any sense because there's an interior to this box. So what you actually want to do, the best thing to do is grab this, grab the entire thing, and you can go, doesn't matter what you use, but I grab the entire thing here, and you're going to, I would add like a UV map projection, and I would probably fit it, and then I would probably center it too. And then take off that UV map projection, which is your basics. And then from there, now I'm going to put a checkerboard on there. Now you're going to have stretching on this. So I'm going to Alt Q to make this bigger. So you're going to have some stretching. As you can see, the stretching is getting bigger where it bulges out here. There's ways to fix that. You have to, what we can do is select, I'm going to ignore back facing here, and what I can do is, see, I've got the seam in there. There's a simple way to actually do this. What I can do is grab this one here. I'll just grab the bottom, and so I'm just grabbing the bottom here, pieces. And so once that's done, as you can see, that's flat. Now I actually want to planar that, so that can be moved out of the way. I can planar that and move it out, and I just move that off to the side. It works fine. Now what I can do though is I can actually go in and grow this selection here. So what I'm going to do is just modify selection, and as you can see, it's going to start selecting the outside pieces like so. So I'm just going to hold in Alt to get this even, and then at this point in time I'm going to subtract the back face too, and actually subtract that, so that way when I grow it again, all this is going to be selected. So I can dump these here. So that is basically, actually, nope, I need those. I must have grabbed them with the other one. So I'm going to grab that, and then I'm going to use my planer on and off, and it's fit already. So that actually creates a seam. Now I can move that over, and as you can see, there's the interior here, all separate, nice and even. I have the bottom all separate, so I can literally, here's the bottom, here's the top, or the insides. As you can see that moving while I'm doing it. Now it does look like there's a little piece here missing, so I want to fix that. So I'm going to select this and then grab these two, really quickly turn that on and off. And it looks like I've selected all of them. They look pretty decent. So that being said, now I've got the interior and the exterior separated, and what I can do first, before I do any amount of information, notice here on the bottom it's scaled like a square, but as I go up it turns into a rectangle. So one of the things that I can do is just select the top portion and start by moving this down. Now I'm going to, as you can see, it's going to skew it a little bit, and I just need to keep my information here. And then, so now, as you can see, the middle parts are a lot more of interest, and I can actually scale this up a little bit more to square that out, like so. And then, as you see, the top here is now rectangle, so that just needs to be bigger. So I can do this. That's one way to do it. And it's still maintaining a decent square quality. So if I wanted to put a pattern over there, the big thing I need to do is pay attention to where I where the geometry got a little twisted, and that's by simply going in here and doing a vertical line, and that'll actually clean up a lot of that. So just a matter of going in and redoing and looking at the basics there. So, but once that's all done, you're still going to have it a little bit off, and honestly, if you want, what you can do is you can do something called Pelt Mapping, and what Pelt Mapping does is takes the geometry that you have and then basically let's grab this as a level 3 here. So what you can do is you can actually just pelt map it, and this is the outside of the box, and what you can do when you start pelt mapping it, it's going to look kind of screwed up. But what you want to do is, before you do that, so I'm going to cancel this, what you want to do is you want to actually start a seam in the pelt map. So the seam for this pelt map would be from the bottom to the top. So I'm just going here. Let's do it this way. Oh, come on. Nope, not that one. Point-to-point seams, that's the one I want. Okay, so point-to-point seams is I'm just going up and down here. As you can see, that's just dividing my information. Alright, and then what I can do is I can try different, sometimes pelt mapping will work, sometimes it won't. In this case, it probably won't work because the cage is a little bit, oh, yeah, it's kind of starting to play with it. So I'm going to do the pelt, and then I'm going to stop the relax here. And I can straighten the stretcher out if I want and play with this. So I can mirror the stretcher. So it's starting the pelt. Now sometimes this doesn't work right because of the simple fact that I might need to, detach part of it. I might need 2 halves instead of 1 full. So things like that might be, I just might need to detach it. And then only doing half at a time will work a lot better. So this will pelt better than, oops, I didn't want to do that. This will pelt better, so I'll start the pelt, and then this will do a lot better information than, and if I commit that, that's a lot better information than the prior. So like this is a lot better. But the problem is with this is it's harder to actually do textures on it because this you could put a pattern on there and it would look a lot better. So you really need to decide what you want to do as far as that goes. And you still have stretching because on an object like this you're going to basically have more stretching. So that's just one way to do it, and you'd have to do the same thing for these individual ones. And I honestly recommend, like, when you run into stuff like this that is a group, ungroup it, and by ungrouping it and then going into the modifiers, I've got this piece which I can do a lot more to, and I can break the pieces separately so that it's more interesting. Now here's another group or mesh, and if you want, you can do this on three spheres too, type of thing. So it's just a matter of going through and doing each one individually, breaking it apart so it makes sense. But like I said, you can also do groups where each individual group has one texture on it, or like these flags, you could just have a whole wall of flags, and then this is the same texture all the way through. So just a matter of going through and unwrapping everything and making sure it's nice and it works accordingly. All right?